everybody, it's Julie. Thanks for joining me today on my channel. I am back with a memory keeping layout, and I'm going to be using the Felicity Jane Mini-Kit, the Neutrals Mini-Kit. I do have an unboxing on my video, so I will link that. Just be aware that the kit itself is sold out in its entirety, but you can still get individual pieces. So I'm going to be using the contents of the kit, and I'm going to be journaling this sweet picture of my niece and my great nieces. So I'm going to be using, I've already done my journaling, and I'm going to be using a lot of these pieces, and we'll just see how it comes together. Okay, I'm going to put you on fast forward. Okay, so I have a general idea of the pieces I want to use and where I want them to go. So I'll have that to work with. First, I want to get a little bit of color on the background. These pages are beautiful and clean and white, but I don't want it so clean this time. I want to give a little bit of this edging. So I've pulled out a VersaMagic chalk ink, and this color is Wheat. And I'm using my blending brush to get an edging of the color around the edges of the paper. The pages. So you start off of the page in a circular motion and move it in. That way you don't have lots of streaky marks. So I stamped it over on my craft mat over to the right, and I'm picking that up with a wet paintbrush, and that helps me to splatter. So getting a little bit of just speckled splatter on my page, again, so it's not so stark white. And now I'm pulling out a drawer, a plastic drawer that's easily cleanable, and I'm using this Distress spray stain in, I think it's brushed pewter. And you shake it first, roll it through your hands, and then I just sprayed that. Now a lot of this is going to get covered up, but again, it just gives me a little bit of a grungy look, so it's not so clean and stark. Okay, I'm clipping my pages down. They got a little bit warped. And now I'm going to start placing my pieces. So I've cut out a lot of the pieces already that I wanted to use, cut them to size. And I know I want to use this beautiful strip of fabric. And over on the left is going to be my main, I'm going to put my title there. And now I'm using this journaling card with the polka dotted heart, and I'm getting that same edging of color. And again, you ink it off first onto the scrap paper, and that way you don't get streaky edges. I know I want my title up at the top left hand, so I'm cutting this down to give me room. Now, if I really were ambitious, I would sew this edge onto here, sew all these pieces together that I'm going to cluster. But I wasn't that ambitious. But if you want to be ambitious, that's a trick. It adds a nice extra to it. So this girl I've cut out, and I'm going to pop her off the page with some foam adhesive tape. She reminds me of my niece, and so that's why I wanted to use it. And she's holding that heart. And then I'm going to use that piece over there with the two hearts that was part of the cutout sheet. And that just really, it kind of reminds me of that picture. Mom Jessica with the mama sweatshirt, and then the two baby girls with the mini sweatshirts, and they all have hearts on them. So I'm popping this off as well, and because the girl is already has some dimension, and I want this to pop up even more, I kind of created a bridge. So I put 2 layers of the adhesive tape on the edges, and then 1 layer through the middle where it's already going to be raised up because of the girl. So I took one of the labels and I just hand wrote the word love to kind of mimic the way love is written on that designer paper. And now I know I want to use this little scalloped edge. So I cut that out. That was kind of hard to cut out. And I'm going to use that under the picture to give it a little bit of black. You need to have some of the black there to kind of bring it all together. Now you see my journaling card, and then I also have a little label that I typed the date. The way I do that is if it's little pieces like this that I've already cut out, I use washi tape and stick it on some paper with the washi tape. And that way I'm able to put the whole paper through my typewriter, and then it works that way. So I'm using this beautiful washi tape. I love this washi tape to give an edge. And it's striped, so that actually makes it pretty easy to line up. Doing it on both sides. Now I'm going to edge my pieces. This time I get smart and I just pick up the ink pad and I just brush it along the edges. It's not as soft as a look as when you use the blending brush, but it's a lot faster and it does get that color on the edges. Going to do that to all these pieces. It just gives a finished look to your pieces. Okay, so I'm building up this cluster that I'm using over here. Now I'm going to start adhering it down. I'm using my ATG gun because I know that's a good strong adhesive. I'll use a variety of adhesives in this spread. There we go. I end up using 2 different little labels, and I'm going to use the plaid, the checked one, over on the left side to balance out all the gingham plaid that's on the right side of the spread. And here now I pull out my liquid adhesive for these tiny little pieces. This little tag that says "so sweet," I'm just not sure where I want to put it. Go ahead and stick that down. And then I'll play around and see. I'm pretty sure that's where I want it, because I want to give myself room up at the top for my title. Okay, now I have this tiny little strip of the scalloped edge, and in order to bring the 2 sides together, I'm going to stick it at the bottom of that label, trim that down. Need to trim it more because it wasn't even. Okay, now let's work on this side. Edge my pieces. These little dewdrop ink pads are so handy because you can hold them in your hand, fit perfectly in your hand. Okay, so I know I have this tag that I want to use, so I'm going to pop up the little piece that says "so sweet." That's going to go on my tag, and then I have these 3 wood veneer hearts that I'm going to put on this tag, and they're so cute. So I'm using my liquid glue. That works really well on these type pieces. There's a variety of the heart shapes, sizes. Oh, that one got away from me. So I put 3 different little sizes. 2 of them are small, and obviously that larger one. So I've got all these clusters of 3 to emulate my niece and her 2 girls. I'm going to use this mini clip and the tassel to attach that to the journaling card up there, to the mat of the picture. Glue the tab on there. Now I'm going to start working on my title. So I'm going to say "love times 3." So I get a piece of the packaging. I think it was one of the envelopes that something came in, maybe the journaling cards. And I'm putting my letters, my alphabet stickers, just on the edge of it, just a tiny little bit hanging off. And that helps me to line up my pieces so I know where I want them to go and how I want them to go and how it's going to fit. Now I decide I need something to anchor that. So I'm going to use my washi tape and make a bar, a strip that goes across, and I'm going to anchor my letters that way. And I'm lining it up. I'm using my glass media mat tool that I have that goes along with my glass media mat, and that helped me to line it up. It's got an edge that'll grip the sides over there, so I know that it's lined up perfectly. And now I'm putting my letters. This X, because they're all caps, I want it to actually be a little bit smaller, to be like a multiplication sign. So I trim that down, easy to do. Use my tweezers to help me put my pieces down. And there it says love ×3. But I've got some space there. So I'm going to use some of these confetti hearts. Those of you who were giving various ways to use these confetti pieces. Here's one way. I'm going to use 3 of the little black hearts, the biggest ones, because they'll stick down the most easily. I'm going to use my straight edge again and just put down 3 dots. I find that if I put the two outer dots first and then the inside one directly in the middle of those, that just helps if you're doing threes like that. So put the dot down on the outside and the other side, and then the middle. You can line them up easily that way. Okay, I'm going to take a little edge. I punched this hole in my tag. I keep mixing up those words. And I don't like the hole, so I'm going to cover it with a little piece of this cardstock, the patterned paper. And that brings the different patterns together too. So I'm going to stick that on. I'm going to end up bringing my stapler, my tiny attacher, into this to add a little bit more texture. I love that little tag. It says "so sweet" with the 3 little wooden hearts, and then I've got that clip with the tassel up top. I think that's my favorite part of the page. Okay, so now I knew I wanted to use this pretty fringe, so I'm going to put that at the top and the bottom on that washi strip. I stapled my little label there. Just going to staple with my tiny attacher the tag. And I realized I had not put the glue on it, so I'm going to do that now. Stick the actual picture down. Now I'm going to stick all of it down. The bad thing about double-sided papers is that if you're using one side, you can't use the other. And that's tough, but you get enough of this so that I can use it for another project or two. Go ahead and adhere that down using my advanced tape glider. That's what the ATG stands for. I call it a tape gun. I use a little bit of foam tape to pop up the label on the left that has my date. Now I'm pulling out some double-sided tape. And I think this is a 1/4 inch or maybe an 1/8 inch, and I want it thinner, and that's going to hold my fringe down, this fringe piece. So I cut it in half, and then I can use that for both the side on the left and the side on the right. The hardest part about using this is getting it off. Once you've stuck it down, getting that strip off. So sometimes it helps to use the tweezers. And I go ahead and put the fringe down, and it holds it in place. It does a great job. Put the fringe down at the bottom. Trim that off. And now I'm just going to use my EK Success powder tool to get rid of some of the little sticky places, like where I put the glue. And to finish it off, I'm going to use another piece of this beautiful fabric strip, to mat my journaling card. Here again, this would have been a nice touch to sew it together. Just run it through the sewing machine, but again, I didn't do that. But if you want to take it to that next level, that's what you can do. So that is almost it, but I think I need a little bit more balance over on the left side. I have both labels poking out of the right side of the pictures and those elements. So I need something to balance that out. So I get one of these black labels, and because again they're so white, I add a little bit of that wheat color to it with my blending brush, and then I put that, and there we go. That's my page. So I like the way it turned out. I especially like that I can document my sweet nieces in a spread like this. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. I'll have all the products that I've used in the description box listed. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye bye.